Hello, my name is Warren. I'm the founder of Cell Shield. Today we're here to talk about EMF. I have a doctor this afternoon. His name is Kevin Allen. And Kevin Allen's going to explain a little to us about EMF.
Okay, well,
What can you tell us?
I'd like to start with telling you about this whole field of energy medicine, which is what my expertise is in. And energy medicine has in itself to do with kind of a radiation type of system that's activated within the body. One of the problems I found a few years ago is the suspicion that electrical fields were interfering with normal health.
Yeah.
In many different ways. Cell phone towers, even power stations, things like that. And I would read occasionally about schools that were built near towers and a higher incidence of serious illnesses there. So I started looking into it a little more deeply, but it wasn't a specialty of mine until years ago when cell phones started to really proliferate. And as a result of that, I began to investigate a little further to see if cell phones might be causing any damage. Because, you know, can I borrow this, Warren?
Absolutely.
You take the cell phone and you hold it right up to your head. And I know it's a microwave signal that's coming through this. So the microwave signal that's emanated from a tower is going actually everywhere, but you're sort of directing it just like if you had a radio and you turned it on, it would direct the signal right to that particular receiver. So the phone becomes a receiver and the field comes in and it's close to your brain because it's right here against your head through your ear. And I was curious if that might cause any potential damage over a long term. Well, since I started to look at that, research has shown, both research, anecdotal information just by people that have had particular experiences that were of a negative kind, start to show up in great number. And I begin to suspect there might be a problem. And one day, I'm driving from my home to here at the clinic at work, and I see a young gal in a little SUV. And she's driving, and she's got the phone right up to her ear, and it just hit me, it dawned on me. All these kids have cell phones. They're using them way more than an adult does, unless an adult's using it for business, real estate, or something like that. But they're using those cell phones to a great degree. The average I found, it was over 2,000 minutes a month. And I said that there's something got to be possibly dangerous potential here. So I looked into it further. And I was not the only one, but there's a lot of researchers, physicians, PhDs, MDs all over the world doing the very same thing in different countries. And occasionally we'll see it in the mainstream press. There have been books written, etc. So I started looking into it a little deeper, and then I also started to look at patients that came in with complaints of headache, migraine, jaw, maybe tooth, or ear, nose, throat problems and issues, and wondered if there might be a relationship. So I began to routinely ask them if they used a cell phone and where. And over a period of time, statistically, it seemed to point out that the side of their head and their neck that had the problem was most often the side where they used the cell phone. And so I asked them to make a switch and do different things, and see. And sure enough, there was a noticeable change in the response to the patient when I would question them again about the symptom, that would, if it had dissipated or diminished in any extent. So then when I discovered that there was a possibility to negate that harmful effect with the Cell Shield, I thought, this is great. And some of my critics, or critics in general, would feel like, well, we don't have conclusive scientific proof. Well, I don't know if I completely agree with that, because science tries to be very objective, but studies can be slanted, studies can be shelved if they don't come to the kind of results we'd like to see. Studies aren't always published that show the damaging results for different economic reasons, etc. I'm a little bit suspect of that. So I looked at as many studies as I could and talked to as many doctors and physicians, looked at the statistics, and I came to the conclusion that it's better to be safe than sorry, and that if we can do something to minimize or reduce or diminish the damage that might be being caused by cell phone by radiation that we receive through our cell phones. Not the cell phone itself. Cell phone's a wonderful device. I use one. We can't live without them. The key is an ounce of prevention might be more than a pound of cure in the future. It might take 5 to 10 years of damage before one shows a real symptom, a tumor in many cases, and it's just not worth the risk. I mean, when I think back when I was a youngster, cigarettes were just, there was no question that they were, there was no thought that they were unhealthy at all. Doctors in white coats like this used to get on television and talk about the best cigarettes and doctor's preference, etc. So I'm a little suspect of someone saying, well, we don't really know if there's damage or not. And I would err on the side of caution and say, we're going to wait 10 years, go down, find out you have headaches, and then find out you have a tumor in the left side of your brain that has to be removed. I wouldn't think so, and I certainly, if I daughters and sons running around with cell phones, the best thing would be for them to take some precautions. And the cell shield I found is one that does it, and we actually have a little setup here to show how it reduces, and in some cases eliminates the effect, and explain how it really works. You want to
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, first of all, tell them what the cell shield is. It's a very simple device.
The cell shield is a two-piece, it's absorption filter system. One goes on the earpiece like this. Let me show you. And it's made out of ceramic composition that has the ability to absorb EMF. Okay, one goes right in the back of your phone like this. Hold on a second. Now there's many shields out there, but make sure the one you're looking at has to be lab tested and proven that it really works. I want to put one of them in behind.
I should say, I want to mention one if I may.
Okay.
You gave me a study. I know you're not a scientist or
a
researcher, but you're very thorough in making sure things show up in the right way. You know the right questions to ask at least. But Warren showed me a study that was done, an independent study by a laboratory, on the effect of this, and I was very impressed and convinced that it was definitely doing something.
Absolutely.
No question about it, so.
Okay. This is my cell phone, it's on. See that?
You should mention what this is. This is
a meter. This tests for EMF, cell phone radiation. Okay.
And as that beeps, that tells us there's a degree
Absolutely.
of radiation. It's detecting radiation and telling us so.
Exactly. 1.6 is your legal standards, and I believe it's much higher. Now, attached with the shield, brings it down to almost nothing.
Well,
see that? Nothing.
So there's a noticeable difference that can be
absolutely
ascertained by this test.
And what I love about the product is a lot of people don't really understand about the shield, so let me explain. Number one, when the signal gets sent out through the cell tower, it goes directly to the phone, to the back of the phone, and then it goes up directly into your ear. Do you see that? It's directly right to your brain. What the shield does, it filters out and it blocks the radiation that goes directly to your brain. That's what the shield does.